Earth 616, the Marvel Universe, home to many heroes including the amazing Spider-Man. However, Earth 616 isn't the only Earth in the multiverse. And now we turn our attention to a different world, a different time, a different New York, and a different 1930s. America was caught in the pangs of the Great Depression. However, despite the cold and hardships of winter, some people spoke out against the governments that let this happen. People such as May Parker and her husband Ben. Unfortunately, it seems the two ruffled the wrong feathers, and a gangster named Norman Osborn, otherwise known as the Goblin, was hired to silence Ben Parker. The Goblin's enforcers brutally assaulted Ben Parker, before one of them, the Vulture, ripped Parker apart, consuming his flesh. It was Ben's nephew Peter who found his mutilated body, and because of the nature of the injuries, Peter immediately suspected the Goblin's involvement. It seems May and her nephew were spared a similar fate, however, for when Osborn's enforcers attacked them, they were rescued by the intervention of Ben Urich, a reporter for the Daily Bugle. Although safe for the moment, Peter was indignant, unsure why the gangs were targeting his family, even when it was the system they were railing against. Urich decided to take Peter to see the answer for himself at the Black Cat nightclub. Here, Peter met the club's owner, Felicia Hardy, and also saw what Ben wanted him to see. Corrupt politicians, immoral businessmen, and unprincipled industrialists all enjoying their illegal debauchery, and all in bed with Norman Osborn, the Goblin himself. However, what Peter didn't know was that the reason the Goblin's enforcers hadn't attacked Ben Urich when he intervened was that he also had an agreement with Osborn, and that Ben Urich had been present for Ben Parker's murder. After that, Peter began working with Ben at the Daily Bugle. During their time working together, Peter attempted to gather evidence against the Goblin. One photo he took placed Fancy Dan, one of Osborn's enforcers, at the scene of a tenement fire the two journalists believed to be arson. However, Ben convinced Peter the evidence wasn't enough. Then one evening, when Peter went to visit Ben at his apartment, he found him strung out on heroin. While there, Ben's phone rang, and Peter answered it. It was an informant calling himself the Fly, looking for his contact, the Spider, with a tip on the Goblin's next move. Apparently, his enforcers were set to pick up a shipment of stolen antiques at a pierside warehouse. Peter snuck inside, hiding in the rafters to gather evidence, but what he witnessed was the enforcers dropping and breaking a strange totem, and a swarm of large spiders rushing out. The spiders swarmed over Fancy Dan, biting and killing him, while one of them climbed the wall to reach Peter. And so, as it has happened in many realities, the spider bit Peter Parker, transferring its power to him. He experienced a strange vision of a horrifying spider creature, which explained that while the spider's bite would prove fatal for men with evil intentions, Peter would instead be cursed with power. When Peter awakened sometime later, he found that he now had enhanced strength and agility, the ability to climb walls and shoot web from his wrists, and a mysterious spider sense. Peter donned a mask and used his newly acquired powers to confront Osborn in his office, intending to intimidate him into ceasing his life of crime. However, Ben Urich was also there, accepting hush money from Osborn to keep his activities as the Goblin out of the papers. Urich ran, but Peter went after him, confronting and admonishing his supposed friend, accidentally tipping him off to his identity in the process. Peter ran off, and Osborn tasked Urich with discovering the identity of the masked assailant. However, Urich threw Osborn's money back in his face and stormed off. That evening, Ben Urich called his employer, J. Jonah Jameson, at the Daily Bugle and told him that he had enough evidence to bury Osborn for good. Jonah insisted on coming to Ben's apartment personally to see it, but when he got there, Jameson murdered Urich in cold blood. However, Jonah didn't realize that Felicia Hardy was also there that night, and after Ben was killed, she escaped through the fire escape with Ben's files on Osborn. Meanwhile, Peter finished crafting a costume and unwrapped his uncle's old pistol, completing his transformation into the Spider-Man. After discovering Ben Urich's body and reporting his murder to the authorities, Peter's presence was requested at the Black Cat nightclub once again. Peter met with Felicia, who gave him Ben's files. Felicia revealed that Urich had told her if anything were to happen to him, then Peter would know what to do with the information. She also warned Peter not to trust anybody with the files, least of all Jameson. And so, as the Spider-Man, Peter used the information Ben had accumulated to begin disrupting Osborn's operations. However, the Daily Bugle attempted to turn public perception against him by printing scathing editorials about the masked vigilante known as the Spider-Man, while puff pieces boosted Norman Osborn's reputation. When the Spider-Man went to confront Jonah, he found him shot, dying as he arrived. The police arrived in time to blame the murder on the masked vigilante, but what neither of them knew was that the real culprit was Felicia Hardy, who sought revenge for the murder of Ben Urich. Furthermore, when Peter consulted Ben's files once more, he suspected why the Bugle supported Osborn. His suspicions were proven true when the Spider-Man snuck into the city morgue to discover the dead Jameson was actually the Chameleon, a master of disguise who worked for the Goblin. In fact, the real Jameson was captured by Osborn, who had Felicia Hardy brought to him as well. The Vulture was also supposed to bring in May Parker, but the Spider-Man shot and killed him before he could complete his mission, although May scolded the masked hero about the killing. With Ben's information, the Spider-Man found Osborn and rescued both Hardy and Jameson. In the resulting scuffle, the Spider-Man kicked Kraven, one of the Goblin's thugs, into a glass case containing the cluster of mysterious spiders that had given him his powers. The spiders swarmed Kraven while Peter went after Osborn. Peter unmasked Osborn, revealing his true face and learning the true reason behind the moniker of the Goblin. But in the end, Peter refused to kill in cold blood. However, the spider-covered Kraven arrived and the deadly arachnid swarmed over Osborn, ending the threat of the Goblin forever. Meanwhile, Peter went on to continue battling evil and injustice as the Spider-Man. And that's the origin of Spider-Man Noir. If you liked this video, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe for more marvelous content. As always, the issues referenced in this video are listed in the description below, as well as links to my various social medias. Also, don't forget that I do live streams of classic Marvel video games on Twitch, so be sure to follow me there and check my Twitter to vote on what game we'll be playing next. So until next time, true believers, Excelsior!